To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
News team, assemble!
Joining us live because if you want to know anything about the Outer Banks, Sam Walker's the dude to fill you in.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli.
Always appreciate talking about it.
Always good stuff with Sam Walker in the Outer Banks.
Now here's Les Nessman and the news.
And good morning, everyone. It is OBX Today for the 21st of October, 2021. Glad to have you along with us for another edition as we get your day started here on the OBX Today Facebook page and Sam Walker OBX Facebook page and the Sam Walker OBX YouTube channel. Let's get right into today's headlines. Good news coming out of Elizabeth City yesterday. A pair of teenagers have been missing since last week, reported missing last week. Finally turned up yesterday. They were located and were back with their family. So good news there to a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old that were last seen back on Tuesday the 12th, according to the Elizabeth City Police Department. And those two teens are back with their families now after a community-wide effort trying to locate them. Yesterday, there was a high-speed chase that ended up started in Currituck, actually. Started from our reports that it started in front of Currituck High School. A BMW that was traveling at a high rate of speed through the school zone there, and law enforcement began pursuit. Took off down Highway 158 down the shortcut towards Camden. Eventually, that chase crossed into Camden County. And as it got close to Camden High School in the village of Camden, the Camden Sheriff's Office had taken over the chase from the Currituck Sheriff's Office. They called back the officers, asking them to back off because they were going into that school zone. But before they got there, that BMW crashed into a school bus at Gumberry Road. That's the road just as you're coming into Camden Village. It's kind of at an angle, and it collided with a school bus. There were 50 students and the driver of the bus on board that bus coming from Grandy Primary and Camden Intermediate. One student on the bus was evaluated after saying they had become disoriented after the collision, but walked on their own to an ambulance, was transported to Centera Albemarle Medical Center for evaluation. The Daily Advance reports that the driver of the BMW was being pursued at a high rate of speed. 120 to 125 miles an hour, according to the Highway Patrol. And not sure what the speed was at the time of the crash, but the bus hit the bus, but everyone okay. No word yet on the driver of that car. They were taken in handcuffs into an ambulance, but no word yet from the Highway Patrol regarding charges and the identity of the driver of that vehicle. So that's something we'll follow up with the Highway Patrol with today to find out more on that case. Some COVID-19 news this morning. U.S. regulators yesterday signed off on extending COVID-19 booster shots to Americans who got the Moderna or Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Right now, just the Pfizer vaccine was approved for the booster shots, but now those who got Moderna or Johnson & Johnson can get the Pfizer as their booster dose. So anyone eligible right now for an extra dose can get a brand different from the one they received initially. That coming down yesterday. North Carolina hit another vaccination milestone yesterday. 71% of adults now in North Carolina have had at least one dose of the coronavirus vaccine, while 66% are fully vaccinated, but that's still behind the 69% fully vaccinated, 79% at least one dose national rate. Dare County continues to have the second most residents that are vaccinated. Currituck and Gates, so in the bottom 10, they're down in the 30s and low 40s in terms of the number of percentage of residents that have been vaccinated. So opposite end of the scale there from Currituck and Gates, where Dare has continued to be one of the top counties in North Carolina, just behind Orange County. Dare and Wake, pretty much the same. Orange County is where Chapel Hill and Carrboro are. Wake County, of course, is Raleigh. So the numbers there have been varying a little bit back and forth. Meanwhile, the White House announcing yesterday, when we were on the air yesterday, they put out their plan for how they're going to handle getting kids ages 5 to 11 vaccinated. The Pfizer vaccine is expected to be approved in the coming days, possibly as early as next week, for kids ages 5 to 11, and more on that. But we talked about it yesterday. The state's already surveying pediatricians and health departments and others on if they will be vaccinating children or not at their locations of pharmacies as well. So the state already kind of ahead of the game a little bit in terms of what the federal government's putting out on that. There's been a lot of coordination back behind the scenes on getting those plans in place, and they were formalized yesterday and put out yesterday as well. All right, a story that our friends over at coastalreview.org have this morning. Mark Hibbs, who is the editor-in-chief at Coastal Review, which is, of course, the daily news service of the North Carolina Coastal Federation, which we have a content-sharing partnership with. Homeowners that have been waiting for long-promised help from Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Florence. Hurricane Matthew, of course, 5 years ago, this past last week before last, when Hurricane Matthew hit, caused all the flooding it caused here on the Outer Banks from the rain flooding and caused massive flooding inland. And then, of course, Hurricane Florence with its record-breaking flooding from Hyde County south. We know what it did down there in Wilmington 3 years ago. But there's homes that were most severely damaged or in some cases still rebuilding, but others remain in limbo, waiting for promised assistance from the state. One of those is Brenda Height, works as a certified nursing assistant, lives in an older mobile home close to Bogue Sound and Broad Creek down in Carteret County. Florence destroyed a roof, and days of rainfall associated with the storm poured into the home's interior. Despite repairs, conditions inside make the structure still partially uninhabitable. Although the home has 2 bedrooms, she said unrepaired damage and still leaky roof forced her to sleep in the living room, along with the adjoining kitchen, the only rooms fit to occupy. Hyde applied in June of 2020 to rebuild NC. That's the state's long-term disaster recovery program administered by the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resilience. A caseworker assessed her home and told her that she would qualify for a replacement home if she could show that damage from the storm totaled more than $5,000. Hyde told Coastal Review that she provided all the required documents possible, but she received no paperwork for partial repairs to her home performed by another state agency called NC STEP, or Sheltering and Temporary Essential Power, work she considered substandard, and incomplete. NC STEP says it provides basic partial repairs to make homes safe, clean, and secure to help North Carolina homeowners with minor damage for Hurricane Florence to get back in their home quickly. That's kind of what the blue tarps, I heard this term as I was following Hurricane Ida coverage down in Louisiana, what they call the blue tarp program, where they just temporarily at least get a tarp on somebody's house to try and keep it from getting more damage when the roof's damaged. That's kind of what NC STEP sort of is. But they do provide some work. But according to this woman down in Carteret County, getting receipts for the work was like pulling teeth, and her caseworker told her in July of this year that she should expect an award letter from Rebuild NC, but she never got any of the paperwork they've done on the work they've done. And they did all their stuff on electronic devices, but didn't receive one piece of paper. Then Height's case manager told her she had missed the deadline for documentation, but she said she had proof in the form of an email that she hadn't missed the deadline. And in August, Height received another notice that more documentation was needed. Most recently, she said Rebuild NC told her again October 7th that she expected an award letter, and a follow-up contact in the next 30 days to go over details and discuss floor plans and color choices for a modular home because of a shortage of mobile homes. But Hite continues to wait, and she remains skeptical. Another person, Greg Dale of North Topsail Beach, said he was promised financial assistance based on his losses from Hurricane Florence. He's retired and disabled as a result of rheumatoid arthritis. His wife works as a nurse. He told Coastal Review in a phone interview that the storm blew the roof off their home. Said he had paid about $100,000 out of pocket for repairs. He said it shouldn't take months or years to process these claims, even with the pandemic. They have insurance, but it's just bureaucratic headaches. Like Hite, Dale has had caseworkers come and go. He thought the process was nearly complete with all inspections and paperwork completed, and a caseworker contacted him. Nearly all the dozen or so reviews posted on the Rebuild NC Facebook page echo these two people's experiences. The HC's homeowner recovery program is funded through a federal housing and urban development community development block grant disaster recovery program. The state program includes an 8-step process that follows HUD's guidelines and requirements for the use of federal funds for long-term housing recovery. The homeowner recovery program has a budget of $150 million for those affected by Matthew and $352 million for Hurricane Florence. The funding is intended to be a last resort for residents with low to moderate income and to supplement but not duplicate funding received by other federal, state, and local recovery assistance programs. I will say that was one thing that we found with Hurricane Matthew, and we found this with more recent storms, even Dorian, that the level of damage that FEMA requires to go into their full mode, their full disaster assistance mode, has not been met in some cases. Florence, we know a lot of places that were hit that it did. But Matthew was one of those storms, even Dorian, because Dorian was so concentrated, the bulk of that damage that was in Ocracoke, there was a real hard time getting FEMA to fully approve disaster its numbers. And I'm probably not describing this the best way I can, but essentially what it is you have to get a certain threshold before certain things kick in with the federal government. Some of those changes happened in 2018, and then we get Dorian, and it's one of the things that we've seen a lot of times. So what's happened is that these other programs were created to make up the difference for what didn't happen or didn't come from one source, was supposed to come from other sources. The way some of this works, you've got vendors that are supervised by state employees involved. Case managers are employed by these vendors. They're responsible for staffing the Rebuild NC centers throughout the state. But there's some situations that have come up that Coastal Review has found. They've got a lot of details about it. We'll get the story up at obxtoday.com later today that shows or talks more about it, kind of goes into detail about some of the people have been left out of this program or haven't gotten the money that they were promised, or in some cases, like we said, they've got caseworkers that have switched, and this seems to be a common occurrence with a lot of government programs when it comes to disaster relief. And, you know, we hear a lot at obxtoday.com and our Jam Media Solutions station, especially during and after, right in the immediate after recovery efforts, that while sometimes there's good stuff on the ground immediately after a storm, it's this long term out, 2, 3, 4 years when things aren't followed up. And that's the situation that's coming out. I mean, we're talking about Hurricane Matthew 5 years ago this past week. That people are trying to recover from Matthew and are still aren't getting the help that they've been promised, or the help that they were expecting, or the help that they were told they would be getting. So we'll get the story up from Coastal Review this morning in just a little bit at obxtoday.com. All right, more of OBX Today is on the way for you on this Thursday morning, so stay right there.
Our pet of the week for this week is Roger. This sweet boy came to us from another shelter. Roger was emaciated and clearly not taken care of in his past life. Even though Roger did not feel good, he gave us all the kisses and loves to give hugs. His entire body will wiggle when he sees people, and he has the best head tilt. Roger is gaining weight and feels much better. He could go home with a family and another dog. To adopt Roger or foster one of our other animals, you can come visit us Tuesday through Sunday at our shelter located in Manteo. This week, join us here at the shelter for a volunteer orientation Saturday the 23rd at 11 a.m. This is a brilliant opportunity to get involved with helping our cats and dogs. For more information, visit our website at www.obxspca.org or visit our OBX SPCA Facebook page.
And welcome back to OBX Today on the OBX Today Facebook page and the Sam Walker OBX YouTube channel. Yeah, we had a lot of comments about it being a slick, calm day out there. That's a live shot coming from South Nags Head this morning, Whalebone Junction. See Jeanette's Pier off the end. A few fishermen out there. Switch it down to Avon. Pretty much the same thing. A lot of anglers out off Avon Pier this morning. I know we have a lot of folks asking what's going on with the fishing. You can check out the Captain Marty Fishing Report. We'll get today's report up in just a few minutes. But pretty decent catches of speckled trout, puppy drum, big drum, bluefish. It's really good fall fishing going on right now. We do have a southwest wind that's going to kick up today. So that'll change things up a little bit. And then the front coming through tomorrow that will send us back into a little bit more moderate temperature. It won't be quite as cool as it was earlier this week. More of that coming up in the OBX Today Weather Center forecast. But fishing-wise, hey, it's not been bad at all. But, yeah, slick calm out there. That's the best way to put it. Lake Atlantic this morning. All right, another story we got for you at obxtoday.com right now. And that is from the Outer Banks Relief Foundation. There was an event come back on October 2nd in Kitty Hawk at Bird Street for a contest, surf contest, a non-traditional surf crafts. The Witch with an H, Witchcraft Surf Gathering brought together creators of non-traditional surf crafts and free thinkers who ride them. Entrants spun a wheel to find out which type of innovative board they'd be riding in each heat. Sponsored by Ashley's Espresso Parlor, Forefront Dermatology, Scarborough Lane Shop Surf and Adventure, Swellas Brewing, and Sunken Surf Company and the Waterfront Shops. The event builds community around challenging the traditional ideas of surfing. It's one of the ways we can ride waves. Into the contest, our rider Eric Lincoln came out on top, and so did local families. $5,000 in proceeds from the event donated to the Outer Banks Relief Foundation to pay household bills for people who live or work in our community and are burdened with financial difficulties due to debilitating illnesses or other personal tragedies. So thanks to fundraising efforts like the Witchcraft Surf Gathering and the generosity of community philanthropists, the Nags Head-based Outer Banks Relief Foundation has distributed over $2 million of financial relief to more than 1,100 local families since 2005. And we got more details. Check it out on the H2O page at obxtoday.com. With more than 2 months to go, the Ncdot has set an annual record for the amount of litter collected from on the state's roads and highways. Staff, contractors, and volunteers and state-sponsored programs have picked up more than 11 million pounds of trash from roadways in North Carolina since January 1st. That already passes the record set in 2019 of $10.5 million. Ncdot has made litter cleanup a priority this year after hearing complaints from the public. The coronavirus pandemic forced cancellation of volunteer cleanup efforts last year. At the same time, financial problems at Ncdot have caused the department to cut back on roadside maintenance, including litter pickup. So 11 million pounds. We still got 2 months to go. That's how much trash has been picked up along state roadways so far this year. New info coming out on the North Carolina state budget. It's slowly the process of negotiations between the governor and the legislature continuing. Republican leaders sent Democratic Governor Roy Cooper their budget counteroffer on Tuesday. Cooper's already responded to their first budget proposal. Specifics are still being negotiated out of the public view until they reach a deal, but some new details emerged yesterday. What's next could be an in-person meeting between the three most powerful people in state government. That's the Governor Cooper, Senate Leader Phil Berger, and House Speaker Tim Moore. Movement in the latest negotiations includes the amount of raises for teachers and other state employees. But one thing not in the Republicans' latest proposal is Medicaid expansion. And that has been something that Governor Cooper has said has been the sticking point of why he's not signed a budget or vetoed them repeatedly that have come from the legislature, has been a lack of Medicaid expansion. A counteroffer included raises closer to the House proposal than the Senate for teachers. The Senate wanted across the board 3% raises, while the House wanted an average of 5.5% over the next 2 years. The governor wanted 10%. Raises for state employees ranged from 3 to 7% in their prior proposals. Representative Jason Sain, as chair of the Appropriations Committee and head budget writer, said those negotiations could take another week or two. So we're going into November without a state budget. Sain said he's not sure there are enough Republican House votes for Medicaid expansion. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but not likely as part of this budget. The House Republican caucus met Wednesday morning, and lawmakers were filled in on the latest counteroffer. Speaker Moore told reporters Wednesday they also briefed Democratic House members on who voted for the House budget bill earlier in the session, but neither party leaders are making the numbers in the counteroffer public. So there's the latest on the state budget, which is still being debated. Looks like we're a step closer to the process, the redistricting process, to being completed. State lawmakers have begun posting draft versions of new congressional maps online, and there's some interesting decisions or interesting. There are some rather interesting proposals for us here in northeastern North Carolina as to what our congressional districts and our state Senate districts are going to look like. The state House districts really haven't been posted yet. We might see one as early as today, and the deadline is Friday to get these maps out for a review. The Senate has already, or rather, the legislature has already posted up its next set of public meetings that will be held. The closest one to us is going to be in Greenville next week. That's typical. They did have a meeting at ECSU earlier this fall, right at the beginning of the process. It was only announced like 10 days, like a week, less than a week before it was going to happen, back in mid-September. And then a meeting's supposed to take place next week. They're going to be remote meetings, sites across the state, but at a handful. Greenville's going to be the closest one. The state's draft congressional maps now posted online include 3 that appear to have been drawn by GOP leaders of the Senate's redistricting committee. 2 would give Republicans a likely 11-3 advantage in the state's congressional delegation based on data from the 2020 presidential election, analyzed with the website Dave's Redistricting app. The other would likely create a 10-4 GOP advantage. The 2 maps that I've seen that seem to be the more likely to be considered, one would put us in a district, the Dare County, Currituck, Hyde, and all of northeastern North Carolina, all the Albemarle area counties in one district that would go all the way to Yancey County, all the way out north of Winston-Salem. Another map would be more similar to what we're in right now, where Dare and Currituck are in District 3 in Hyde County, and then the rest of the counties along the northern border are in District 1. The numbers would change a little bit in terms of what they would call District 1, District 2. But essentially that would keep us in that same district, which is currently District 3 and District 1. So the inland counties, well, save Currituck, but Currituck and Dare would be in one congressional district, and the rest of the region would be in another one. Or I say the rest of the north of the Albemarle Sound would be in another district. South of the Albemarle Sound would be in the same district as Currituck and Dare, and going all the way to Greenville. There's been one Senate map that's come out, and it's interesting that one of the things we've seen in the Senate map is that Chowan County would be in a different district, would be in a district that would cover the south of the Albemarle Sound in the state Senate. And Chowan County would be cut out in that. And actually, would it be a double bunk with State Senator Steinberg and State Senator Sanderson, who's down in New Bern. They would end up in the same district under that map. That's the only Senate map we've seen. The rest of the area would be in another Senate district. That's very interesting that you would see an incumbent that would get put into a double bunk, especially in the same party. So, again, we haven't seen a state house redistricting map yet come out of this process. But we expect to see that by Friday. Tomorrow is the deadline for those maps to be submitted by lawmakers and then to be put before the vote by the legislature in the coming weeks. All right, we'll take a break and come back here on OBX Today on Facebook and YouTube, so stay right there.
Get ready for the Dare to Scare 5K and Sweet Treat Fun Run on Saturday, October 23rd. Sponsored by the Dare County Center. The 3.1-mile course begins at the Coastal Studies Institute, winding through Psycho and along the trails ending at the Dare County Center. This is a rain or shine event, with all proceeds benefiting the Dare County Center annual toy drive. So get ready for the Dare to Scare 5K and Sweet Treat Fun Run on Saturday, October 23rd. For more information, to register, or to volunteer, go to www.darenc.com/DC Center.
And a reminder, that's coming up this Saturday, the Dare to Scare 5K in Mania. We've got details on it. If you go to the Things to Do page and search Dare to Scare, you'll find out how to register. Coming up next month, the Museum of the Albemarle hosts another in its History for Lunch series, and they're going to be talking about Buffalo City. And you may have seen Buffalo City signs for driving along US 64 out on the Dare County mainland. You may have heard Buffalo City Jug Shop there in Killable Hills. Buffalo City Distillery, which is being built down in Harbinger right now. And wonder, what the heck is Buffalo City? Well, Buffalo City was once a bustling logging and moonshine community. It's now a ghost town on the Dare County mainland in the Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge. Coming up at noon on Wednesday, November 17th, there'll be a program presented by Bill Barber, who's a retired forester here in eastern North Carolina. And it's called Buffalo City and the Blunt Patent, the history of logging the Dare mainland. Program will be offered at the Museum of the Albemarle in downtown Elizabeth City and via Zoom. We'll get some details about this up at obxtoday.com and how you can register to take part and watch this coming up next month. I thought it was pretty interesting, this program on Buffalo City. Some sad news coming out of Raleigh yesterday. Dick DeAngelis, Amedio Dick DeAngelis. Maybe you've heard that name. Amedio's has been a staple in Raleigh for years. Italian restaurant on Western Boulevard, and really a shrine to NC State athletics. Dick DeAngelis, Amedio, he died yesterday at age 85 after a lengthy illness. DeAngelis played at State on the 1957 ACC championship team. Returned to Raleigh from his hometown of Reading, Pennsylvania after his playing days, and opened Amedio's Italian restaurant in 1963 with his wife, Betty. His son-in-law, Dave Parker, curates the restaurant's countless pieces of Wolfpack memorabilia. Said DeAngelis knew there was a need for authentic Italian-American food in Raleigh. Well, he found it. Amedio's has become a must-stop for Wolfpack fans. It has been the home of now several at least one podcast. I know the Red and White podcast does their show there, has been doing it for years, and really is just a place. I mean, I've lost the count of number of times I've been there to eat as a child and even in college. But Amedio's, one thing about Amedio's was cool was they ended up, when Reynolds Coliseum was renovated in a couple years back, and then the banner for the 1983 National Championship, both of them, actually the 74 and 83 National Championship banners, ended up in Amedio's on the ceiling for more than a decade, from the early 2000s until back in 2017 when the full renovation of Reynolds was completed. Now those raft jerseys are back, or not the jerseys, excuse me. The banners are back at Reynolds today, but they had been in Amedio's for years. But again, Dick DeAngelis, owner of Amedio's, the founder of Amedio's restaurant in Raleigh, passing away yesterday at age 85. Piece of North Carolina will once again be in the White House this year for Christmas. As for the the, the 17th time since JFK was in the White House. There will be 14 times. This will be the 15th. This will be the 4th. No, wait a minute. Yeah, 14. I got my counts all wrong. That a North Carolina grown Christmas tree is going to be in the Blue Room of the White House. Yesterday, staff from the White House, the staff, which of course is run by the National Park Service, were at Peak Farms out in Jefferson. That is on the exact opposite corner of the state from us, about as far northwest as you can get North Carolina, to pick out the tree. It'll be a Fraser fir that will be displayed in the White House Blue Room. It's the second time that this farm has had one of their trees in the White House. Back in 2012, a tree was sent to the White House, and they had in 2018 a tree at the Naval Observatory, home of the Vice President. So Peak Farms, which is owned by Rusty and Bo Estes, no stranger to the process, as they'll have a Fraser fir will be cut down next month and then taken up to Washington and delivered in a cool little ceremony by wagon at the White House coming up for Christmas this year. All right, in sports, some news coming out on conference realignment that has a direct effect here in North Carolina. The American Athletic Conference, which ECU is a part of, looks like they're going to be picking up some schools as schools are leaving the AAC. This is all part of this huge shuffle that got kicked off when Oklahoma and Texas decided they're leaving the Big 12 for the Southeastern Conference. Cincinnati, Houston, and Central Florida announced last month they're leaving the AAC for the Big 12. It looks like 6 schools that were part of Conference USA that ECU was part of at one time. Alabama, Birmingham, Texas, San Antonio, Rice, North Texas, Florida Atlantic, and Charlotte are now going to apply to join the American and expected to be accepted by the end of the week, so by tomorrow, and expected to start in 2023. Is when the American hopes to have those 6 new members playing. That would result in a 14-team conference with 4 schools in Texas and 3 new members in SMU. Conference USA has been a frequent target when the American, formerly the Big East, has needed to reconstitute. After the latest realignment moves have been completed, 12 of the Americans' 14 members will be former CUSA schools. That includes ECU. Now, what does this mean for Old Dominion? ODU, UTEP, Southern Miss, Marshall, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee, Florida International, and Western Kentucky will be remaining in the Conference USA. In the past, Conference USA has been poached by the Sun Belt, which is where Appalachian State plays. And Coastal Carolina is now a member. Could that be where they head? The Conference USA may end up getting dissolved and just kind of split up amongst about 2 or 3 different conferences. But ODU now being left out with no true travel partner. Charlotte was its travel partner. And that's a conference across USA is what CUSA has always been known. We'll see. It would make sense for Marshall to go to the Sun Belt since they'd have a natural rivalry with the Appalachian State. I've heard some talk that maybe they should go back to the MAC. But what does this mean for ODU? That's going to be tough for them with their Olympic sports to be able to compete or with the expenses that they're going to be looking at. They already travel way too much as far as I'm concerned. I experienced that when I was at Campbell, and we went from the Big South to what was the Trans-America Conference, transiting you all over America to play, from Louisiana down to Miami. That was with Florida International. Florida Atlantic was in that conference when we were in it. Then we went back to the Big South, which is much more, it's a bus league. Even though it stretched from Maryland down to Georgia at that time. It's kind of, Tennessee's been involved now. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see, we'll follow that one to see where ODU is going to end up, because it doesn't look like Conference USA can survive this latest expansion battle, and whether that means the Monarchs are going to move up or move down or move parallel, we'll see. All right, let's get you a tropical weather update this morning. There is, as has been for the last couple of days, nothing. Absolutely nothing to talk about. No tropical cyclonic activity expected in the next 48 hours. No tropical activity expected in the next 5 days. In fact, I mean, there really is. It's dead quiet out there, which is a good thing. Although there are a few little waves out there. Let me see. Let me pull up the display here and show you what the satellite has to offer. This is the 2-day from the National Hurricane Center. There are a couple of waves that are moving off. Here's our front that went through earlier this week. And we've talked about this. I talked about this yesterday. You know, sometimes you got to watch these things because you could get a low that could develop out here. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, the cursor pointing at it. Sometimes you'll see things kind of develop on the trailing edge of these fronts after they cross and get out into the tropical Atlantic. That's not happening. You got a couple of little small waves here moving across from Africa, a couple coming off here. There's one there. But really what's happening, and then you see a few little waves here, disturbances, but there's really not much to them in the Caribbean. What's happening is, and I had a chance yesterday, if you can subscribe to hurricanetrack.com and Mark Sudduth down in Wilmington, he did a great job of explaining what's going on. Where with these storms, you got to get this uplift. That's what you got. This is the direction. This is the movement you need with the air for these systems, is to be going from the surface and up to the upper atmosphere and going out. That's not happening. And part of that is upper level winds are not favorable. There really is nothing that's helping with the uplift. I mean, these things are just kind of there's just nothing going on. They're not even colliding. They're just out there. And there's just really nothing to get that uplift, which eventually leads to circulation. And it looks like that's going to stay that way at least into the next week. Flip over to Mike's weather page. This is, of course, the spaghettymodels.com. The GFS and Euros starting to get a little, they're starting to see a little bit of activity. I looked at the GFS yesterday, like 14 days out. And really, when we talk about long-range models, and I say this over and over, long-range models mean nothing. They're just mathematical equations that sometimes will throw some screwy stuff in. And that's what they were doing yesterday. Seeing a little bit more agreement that maybe something's going to form, but not much. It's still they're in sniffing as Mike's weather page says. There's really nothing showing up, and really there's nothing really favorable for us to get any activity. Again, we do watch these fronts. Again, we got a front coming through tomorrow. That's going to, you know what? I didn't even show this to you. There we go. You're looking at me and not what I wanted to show you. All right, there you go. This is what some of the models are thinking right now. Maybe down in the Caribbean, something getting a little fired up. The problem is that when you start looking at these models and they run things out, and again, this is 2 weeks ahead. 2 weeks ahead is really not very accurate. It's just a guess from even the models. The one that I'm looking at here with the Euro and the GFS yesterday was kind of showing this thing backtracking to the east and going around in circles towards Aruba and Curacao. He'll do that. These systems don't do that. So be wary of what you're seeing online. Yes, we're still in the middle of the tropical season. We're in the back half of it now. Yes, could we see something happen? Sure. Could easily happen. You've got a few little factors are in place. La Nina's kick back in. You've got all this ocean heat content out there. You got the warm sea surface temperatures. You've got some enhanced MJO going on. There are a few things going on that could allow us to see something, but right now the models aren't seeing it, and in reality, we aren't seeing it either. So until, it's still going to be probably 2 weeks before we see anything, just the way that the current forecasts are looking. Here's what we're looking at as far as our current weather. Still not too bad. It's fallish. Inland areas get down in the 40s, mid 50s to mid 60s here on the coast. Today's going to be a rather warm day, actually, out ahead of this front. We're going to kick up some southwest wind coming in as well. Then look at it tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, it looks like, or tomorrow night, rather. Here's the front, still making its way across at 36 hours, so about this time tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, the front's coming through, scattered showers, maybe some rumbles of thunder. So there is some isolated severe weather possible tomorrow. And then the front gets out of here early on Saturday, leaving behind some 70s for us during the daytime. And then looks like will be another system that's coming across the Midwest for the early part of middle part of next week. There's a low going off of the eastern shore with a trailing cold front. So it kind of gives a little reinforcing shot of cool weather out a week from now. And then here's another system coming across. So next week, this time, going into Halloween week, looks like it might be a little messy for the second half of the week. I'll bounce back to sports real quick. Volleyball playoff brackets coming out today. Let me get back to sports. Get away from the tropical weather update. So, again, not much going on, and looks like it's going to stay quiet for us for the next couple of weeks as far as the tropics go and our regular weather forecast as well. All right, I'm back to sports. Sorry, getting out of order here. Major League Baseball playoffs. Houston beat Boston last night to take a 3-2 lead in the ALCS. Game 6 tomorrow. NLCS, Atlanta beat the Dodgers 9-2 to take a 3-1 lead in that series, and they could wrap it up tonight. One game in high school soccer that's local. Mania hosting Northeastern. The volleyball playoff brackets come out in a little bit. They'll be finalized by this afternoon. The first round will be Saturday. College football, we were talking about it earlier with Coastal Carolina and Appalachian State. Appy State with the upset of 14th ranked Coastal Carolina, 30-27. Chanticleers have yet to win in Boone. Tonight, Charlotte hosts Florida Atlantic. NFL tonight, Denver is at Cleveland. Now, here's the OBX Today Weather Center forecast for today. Mostly sunny skies, high 78, southwest winds 10 to 15, with a few higher gusts at times. Tonight, partly cloudy, some showers could develop in the overnight hours, low 64. Southwest winds 15, gusts of 25. Friday, showers and thunderstorms mainly in the afternoon and evening, with sunny skies to start, then showers coming in as we get into the afternoon, a high 78. Southwest winds of 10 to 15. Friday night, showers and storms ending, low 65. Saturday, sunny, a high 74. Sunday, sunny and 77. Monday, sunny and 79. And Tuesday, partly sunny with a chance of showers and 71. Wednesday, sunny, breezy, and a high of just 70. Coastal Marine forecast. We're looking at southwest winds today, picking up as we get into the afternoon at 15 to 20 knots, gusts to 25 knots. Small craft advisory pennants going up late in the day, 2 to 3 foot waves in the sounds, and seas around 2 to 3 feet at offshore wind, keeping us those Lake Atlantic conditions as you see right now off Avon and pretty much all the eastern face beaches. South-facing beaches will get a little bumpy down there. Our camera's not working right now from Hatteras, but it'll start getting bumpy down there this afternoon. Rip current risk stays low. The water temperature 68 degrees. Next tide change at Oregon Inlet, the top of the hour at 9:04 will be a high tide. Sunset tonight at 6:18. Sunrise tomorrow at 7:15. And we had the full moon, the hunter moon last night. If you're watching, you can go back here on the OBX Today Facebook page and check it out. The view from Corolla last night was pretty nice. It'll look still full tonight. We should have a pretty decent view before the clouds really start to thicken in. Another outstanding view of a moonrise last night. In case you didn't see it. Around 6:35, 6:40 is when it starts. Currently outside the studios in Uptown Nags Head, we've got fair skies, 61 degrees. And that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of OBX Today. I'm Sam Walker here on the OBX Today Facebook page and the Sam Walker OBX YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us for another morning. Have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll see you.
Simple binary code transmitted by carrier wave signal. Radio.